So today I'm going to be showing you guys how I go about washing my e-bike. Been having some questions. People have been asking me how do I go about washing my bike. So I'm going to give you guys a quick little rundown tutorial how I wash my bike. Things I'm going to use is Finish Line Super Bike Wash, and I'm going to be using this chain cleaner, bike chain cleaner. This is the bike chain cleaner, little spinning wheel right here. This is the brand right here, IMEX, whatever the hell, however you pronounce that, for the change. And then I'm going to be using some bike lube. First thing I like to do is go ahead and just kind of hose off all the dust. As you can see, hopefully you guys can see, it's pretty dusty. Hopefully the lighting isn't too bad. I'm outside. I don't have any fill light coming towards me. I don't even know if you guys are going to see my face. All right, as you guys can see, super dirty, super dusty. Hopefully you guys can see. Like I said, I don't have my proper studio lighting out here. All right, so first thing I like to do is get the hose, put it in a medium, and just hose off the wheels. Try to get most of that dust off the wheels. Move on the other side and just blast the other side. Get the wheels over on this side. Oh man, my hose is all tangled up. All right, so I just untangled the hose so it don't look all crazy. Turn the wheel in. And like I said, just want to get all the dust, knock off majority of the dust off of it. When you're hosing it down, you want to try to stay away from the motor. The motor, you can spray the motor, but don't like sit there and like focus and do crazy. So I'm just going to do like a light. That's it. You don't want to focus on too much and getting the battery area too wet. Just a little light spray. And that's basically it, man. Just hold it down like that. Spray a little bit of the wash on there. Just spray the bike. And this bike wash, it has specific anti-rust agents in it. So this is specifically made for bikes. They don't rust your parts out. That's super important. You don't want to use car wash soap. You don't want to use dish soap because that stuff is going to dry out and rust out your components when it dries out. So just spray a little bit of bike soap. You see, I'm not really getting the handlebars because the handlebars don't really need it too much like that. Just let that sit for a minute. Let me go and get my wash bucket, which I forgot to get. Just so I can fill up the bucket with some water. You don't need too much water, just a little bit of water. Then I'm just gonna spray a little bit of the soap in here. And that's it, man. I'm gonna get my wash brush, a little wash rag. Just gonna go ahead and wipe it down. You know what? My chains I'm looking at my chains. My chains isn't even that dirty, so I'm not going to clean the chains today in this video. But the chains is not that dirty. Just looking at it from right here. In the spokes and the rims real quick. Like I said, it doesn't need to be in any detail wash, man. Just get in between there. Gonna spin this very quick. Just hurt the wheel. Guess I get the rims. Just real quick. So I'm not spending like a whole bunch of time on it. Man, why this bike keeps turning, bro? Stay right there, bro. I should be using this brush for the tire instead of that one. There we go. You can see all the little thorns. All the little thorns and rocks inside the tire. Rotate the tire a little bit more. Between the spokes and the wheels. Like I said, my chain isn't dirty. I'm looking at my chain. It's still pretty clean because I cleaned it about 2 weeks ago. So my chains are still pretty clean, so I'm not gonna worry about cleaning the chains today. The spokes. That's it for the front. The back. Let's hit up the front. Okay. And you want to try to start from the valve stem, so that way you don't miss the spot on the rim. All right. Now, tilt the rag. To put the rag inside the wheel right here. Put the rag inside there and just get the little hub, the front hub. You know, get the hub pretty clean. The spokes should be pretty straight. Spokes ain't gonna get too dirty, but just wipe them down. It's not, oh man, it's not a detail, you know what I'm saying? It's just trying to wipe it down real quick. Just quick and easy, man. Nothing too crazy. Easy. Somewhere. On this side right here. The dust in here. Boom. And that's basically it, man. Just gonna rinse it off. This side. Boom. And that's it for the wash. That's it for the water. Shouldn't need the water anymore. Since I'm not gonna clean the chains, because the chains are still pretty clean, just gonna get a rag and dry her off. I like to get the blower, turn on the blower. It's gonna get pretty loud, and just blow off as much water from in between the motor and the spokes and all the gears and the cassette. I try to knock out as much water from there, so the water don't sit there, and also to get the water from any cracks of the frames where the suspension rotates or whatever. There's bearings in there, so I like to try to get as much water off the bike and from in the bike as possible. I focus a lot on the engine area or the motor area right here, and the gears, the cassettes and everything. So just try to make sure I get as much water as possible from in there, because you don't want water sitting. Another thing that I like to do too to just get the water out is take this out the rack and just kind of bounce it. That'll knock any excess water out the chain and the gear area. Do the same thing for the front. Now we go ahead and dry. That's up here. Like I always want to try to fall. Bring this up this way. If I do it like this, it probably won't fall. Let's see. Ready? The cassette on the chain is super clean. I cleaned it a couple weeks ago, so I don't have to worry too much about that stuff right there. I'll get this rag so I can clean out the rim. Get the rear hub dried up. And it's the same thing. I just put the rag inside the hub and then just kind of spin it and just pull it. Bring the rag up. And that should dry it pretty good. All right, so now that it's all cleaned up, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and oil up the chain and put a little bit of oil in the cassette and just wipe the fork, the little suspension, the little smooth chrome part on the forks. I like to put a little bit of oil in a rag and just keep those nice and lubed up, but not too lubed up and not too oily, because you don't want to have too much lube and too much oil on it, because then it's gonna attract a lot of dirt. So show you guys how I do it. Take this off. I just like to spin the wheel. Just put a little bit of oil. And I like to go through the gears. So I like to go through the gears just to make sure that every gear got some oil in it. So this is gonna be the smallest gear. Spin it around. Go up one gear. Go up another gear. Up another gear. Pretty smooth. Go up. All right, so I like to get this little brush, the little brush cleaner, put some oil on it, just a little bit. And I just like to just scrub the cassette with this just to get it a little bit lubed up. It looks like a lot of oil right now. I just like to get it in between there. And just rotate the chain oil in between the cassette and the disc, or little gears. You could just spin it like that, and that'll definitely rotate and get the oil in between all the gears, make it nice and oiled up. And then what I like to do when I'm done with that is I like to get my rag. I use the same rag for oil and just wipe down any excess. If you feel like it's a lot of oil, you can just go ahead and wipe down the excess oil with the rag right here. If you feel like it's a lot, just go ahead and wipe it down. Alright, that stays nice and oily. And then I like to get the chain, and just in case the chain was wet earlier, just get the chain and just like to run it back here. See, since I have a e-bike, I can just use a little throttle, and I could just throttle up and just wipe down any excess oil and any excess water from the chain. Just have my rag run through it. The same thing with the sprocket right here. I can go ahead and, if I feel like it's too much oil on it, same thing, I can just go ahead and wipe it down. And do it again. And that'll definitely get any excess oil, any excess water from the chain system. And then what I like to do, I like to take the rag and I like to wipe on the fork with the excess oil that is on the rag. Just like to wipe that down to keep that nice and lubed up right here, so it operates pretty smooth every time you use it. Just some oil on the fork right there. And that's it, man. That's how I maintain my bike. That's how I wash. That's how I oil it up. Like I said, if it's too much oil, you can just go ahead and get a rag and just wipe it down, because you don't want to have like too much oil on your chain and on your sprockets and anything like that, because it's gonna attract a lot of dirt. So you just want to get it lubed up, but not too crazy lubed up. Like I said, if you feel like it's too much lube, just go ahead and get your rag and that's it. You see the chain is clean. Everything looks clean. And now she's ready to ride, man. right, let's bump up the speed to get any extra water out of here. So we're gonna all right, so let's go ahead and go down to some lower gears. All right, y'all. So that's how I go ahead and wash. Turn this on. All right, y'all, so that's how I go ahead and wash and lubricate and maintain my bike. Pretty simple, nothing crazy. It doesn't take a lot to wash your e-bike, man. As you can see, it's on. I have the throttle on, it's running. Bump it up. So it doesn't take a lot to wash your e-bike. You don't have to worry about getting the motor wet. Just don't sit there and focus and blast all the water up in the engine, in the motor. So you just want to just do a light little wash. And like I said, you don't need a lot of water. Make sure if you're using a pressure washer, make sure it's on a medium or low setting, and just wash it out, wipe out the excess dirt. You don't have to sit there and spray it crazy. You can focus on, I mostly focus on my wheels and the gearing, and I just get all that dirt and grit out of there. That's what I really focus on, and everything else I just do a light spray and then wipe down, spray the soap, wash it down real quick, rinse it off, and that's it, man. It don't take too much to wash your bike. If you guys have any more questions, go ahead and hit me up in the comments. If you think I put too much oil on the cassette, let me know. If you think I got too much oil in my chain, let me know. Like I said, I use a rag to wipe down any excess. I put on a good amount, and then I just wipe off any excess, just because I just want to make sure everything is nice and lubed up so it can stay running and keep me moving on the trails. But anyways, man, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for checking me out. It's your boy, the Slo-Ripper on Slo-Rip MTB. We'll see you guys in the next episode, man. Peace.